Good morning, everybody. It is December 24th, 2024. Merry Christmas. I wonder what kind of weather is Santa bringing us this year? And we're going to get into it in a little bit here. First, I want to talk about yesterday's snow event. Here are some of the snow reports around the state, mainly central and eastern Wisconsin. The highest snowfall amount we had yesterday was a 3.5 in Tunnel City, which is near Toma, Wisconsin, on the west side. And yeah, a pretty narrow strip here, I would say, uh, becoming more broad towards the east. Overall, the roads were okay. It was actually quite a beautiful snowfall because it had the heavier rates towards the end and it stuck to the branches and stuff, so it's really nice. Looking at the 7-day forecast, okay, so Santa's coming in here tonight and he's going to be bringing us some warmer weather and some rain. So this is going to be kind of a dreary stretch of weather. This rain is not going to be super substantial. It's going to come in patches and it's going to be light generally, though you might have some times where it's heavier. But yeah, overall it's going to be pretty spread out. Before we go too deep into the 7 day, I just want to reflect on the last 60 days, the departure from normal. Precipitation and temperature. This is the precipitation showing you that Wisconsin here is overall above average, though we do have some drier below average spots there, but it's not drought below average. It's just a little bit drier. Going to the temperature, we have warmer. It's been warmer on the average, 2 to 4 degrees across the entire Great Lakes, I would say. So warmer, a little wetter, but it's been all right. I think if we go back to the early parts of the fall, so 60 days ago, so 1025, I just remember it was like sort of warm and then it hit a point around Thanksgiving where it switched to winter. So it's been all right. So let's talk about this rain coming in. I have the GFS here from this morning. I want to say this is the 12Z run. Oh, nice. Um, and we need to go back though. We need to go back to the. I'm gonna go back to the 60 actually. So this low pressure system is gonna be kicking off batches of rain, and you're gonna see that like here. It's just patches coming through here and there. Not sprawling, but just kind of here and there, and hits and misses and gone. So nothing real remarkable there. If you look at the rainfall amounts, I would say generally less than a half inch, but there's gonna be spots that do go higher, and we'll see where those are. It looks like southern Wisconsin right now on the GFS is the highest part from the 060 run this morning. And we've seen some values over a half inch. So I'm not sure what's going on here on Lake Winnebago, but that seems interesting to me. But otherwise, I don't think that's accurate. I think that's probably just a glitch there. But either way, so yeah, half inch to an inch spread out over 4 days is not much at all. But it's going to help wet our whistle and keep us moving forward here. It's always good to have moisture around. Other thing I want to talk about is cloud cover. So Santa, he's not. I mean, this isn't far from Cole, but pretty close. We got a lot of clouds that's going to be in the area for the next 7 days. I mean, I wonder, but I hate to say it, but I wonder if like, I would say we don't see the sun for like a long time. I mean, Saturday, Sunday, maybe there's some patches here and there, some breaks for an hour, and then we get through the weekend and then it's still cloudy. So this is gonna hit a patch where, if you see the sun, like write it down and take a picture because it's gonna be remarkable. And I don't foresee much sun coming through the clouds until we hit, uh, yeah, I don't know, January. So, anyways, a little bit of bad news, but it is the news. So. I wanted to show you the European 500 millibar chart that shows the pattern overall. There's some things to glean from this, which is in contrast to the GFS, especially as we get beyond 180 hours. But right now, I just want to show you our next low pressure system coming through here. So this is for this week. That's going to kick off all the rain. It's actually starting pretty far south, and then it comes north, which normally you would associate that with a large storm system or a powerful low pressure system with moisture, but this one actually fills over time and becomes weaker, but it's replaced by another trough, weak, small trough coming in, and we have an overall troughiness here across the United States. So it's it's kind of a complicated scenario, but yeah, as we head into the weekend, we see that low pressure start to finally like consolidate and move through, and then it's replaced by this piece of it here. So the interesting part about this pattern isn't so much the next 5 to 7 days. It's really what happens beyond that, because the European has the 500 millibar, the jet coming down further south, much further south actually, with low pressure here still. And the GFS shows that, but the GFS is much further north. So I find that all very interesting. Um, Regarding that time frame, we have a system out there. So the GFS this morning for this would be next Tuesday has a really nice low pressure system crossing from west to east across the country. This is not the same as the European, which is yeah, I'm a much different like I showed you because that jet is much further south. And then we have some other models in here that I think what it's what this indicates is that there's likely to be a storm system in that time frame, but we don't know exactly where that's going to go and how it's going to look. And however, I do think that what I've said previously about this kind of indicating a pattern change coming up, I think we're starting to see that a little bit there in that January 1 time frame, starting anyway. And again, if we look at the 500 millibar chart again as it relates to others, so here's the European that you just saw, and then here's the GFS, a little bit further north, and then yeah, some of these other models. So they're all over the place a little bit, but generally the main thing to take away here is that this troughing as it slides in the eastern United States looks like it's going to stick around for a while. And that's going to change our pattern, and it's going to turn our warm cloudy weather into probably colder and drier. Looking at the MJO, is interesting development. This ties everything together. So European shows us going into 8 closer to the new year, and that makes sense. That's kind of what we were thinking coming in. This is in contrast to the GFS, which is it's really reluctant to go to 8. It's indicating something else altogether. I think everything that I've seen and everything coming through seems to suggest that the Europeans probably on the right track here with this going into 8. And again, when we go into 8, that turns it colder, and we see a storm track that probably goes to the east coast. On the European 8 to 12 day 500 millibar anomaly chart, we see that negative anomaly here across the eastern United States, so that generally corresponds with a pattern that does this. So you get your storms in here somewhere, and we get our cold air kind of coming in from this way. Colder air, maybe we get some more hitting systems, maybe. So what I think about is like, okay, where are the opportunities for storms in here? It's as this pattern change occurs. So it could be that storm system we see around the first, maybe. Uh, but then after that, it'll be interesting. I think that'll be the primary storm track in early January. Um, Temperatures are interesting because I don't know, I just found it interesting. Like here's the warmer, we're like moving to this week, warmer temperatures, much above average for sure. Especially like later in the week, 40s and 50s. I don't know 50s, but 40s for sure, into Wisconsin and the Great Lakes region. And then we move through the weekend and still staying warmer. But if you look at like a huge area up here of above average temperatures, and as we move into next week, we start to see that moving off. In the United States here, it's cooling off, but that warm air is a little bit slower to move up there. Cooling off, and gradually phasing out, and it's replaced by this guy here, which is maybe this is overdone and not representative of the whole, but in general, starting to cool off. And you're going to see that in the CPC forecast, like how it's hanging on here a little bit, where you're going to see the biggest changes are in here. So 8 to 14 temperature, 8 to 40 day outlook for the temperature. You're seeing, yes, here's your warm air kind of hanging on, but moving off to the north. Precipitation, 8 to 14 day, not really remarkable, and I don't have a problem with this. I think that this is interesting to me. Maybe this is the transitionary period in between there. I think something's going to change in here as we head into early January. Looking at the seasonal temperature outlook to close things off here, this is for the winter months of January, February, and March. Uh, we we have equal chances of above and below normal temperatures, so this is would indicate over the season we'd be near average. And if we've started slightly above average, then somewhere in between we would likely be cooling off here in the next next month I would say we would start to see this winter pattern set in. As for precipitation, I find this really interesting that we have, and this would correspond with a La Nina winter typically, this above average precipitation trend here across the eastern Great Lakes region, uh, also tying into Wisconsin a little bit. But again, so I think what we're seeing right now is this critical point in the winter where if it's gonna be what we thought it was going to be, it's got to happen in the next 2 weeks where we switch over to a colder pattern which offsets the warmth we've seen early. And I think we're on our way. I don't foresee any reasons why it won't happen, but you know the weather. Anyways, have a great Christmas, guys. This is all I got for today, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye bye.